On the final floor, a three-headed shadow chimera appeared. Fire, frost, darkness. One mistake, and the weakest summoner would die. But he didn't run. His spectral tiger roared behind him, and the system whispered, "Devour." The chimera charged. The tiger ripped into its icy head. Rank up, B rank. He achieved the impossible. But this isn't where the story begins. Let's go back to the day of my awakening. The day everything changed.
I took a deep breath as I sat among the other students, the hall buzzing with expectation. Today was the awakening test at the academy, where each of us would discover our true power. My palms were sweaty. Everyone around me looked confident, their auras quietly glowing. I tried to steady my racing heart as the professor raised his staff and intoned the magic phrase. As the chant filled the room, I could feel energy swirling in the air. Some students' eyes lit up with color, their talents awakening. But when it was my turn, nothing happened. No light, no power. The silence in the hall grew heavy as all eyes turned to me. I was the weak one, the F-rank student, and for a moment, it felt like the world stopped around me. The awakening was supposed to change my life, but instead, it reminded me of how powerless I really was. My cheeks burned as I heard a muffled chuckle from one of the superior classmates. I fought back the urge to slump to the floor in embarrassment. Shaking, I stumbled out of the hall into the bright morning sunlight. Every footstep felt heavy as the weight of failure dragged me down. Memories began to flood me. I remembered my childhood, long before I set foot in any academy. I remembered feeling powerless even then. My parents were gone, taken by strangers in the night, and I ended up as an adopted son in a small town, trained by a kind mentor who was also weak. There were nights I lay awake, praying for strength, mourning the power that was snatched away from my family. It all felt so unfair. I saw my father charging bravely against those foes, even though they vastly outnumbered him. My mother held me back. She was trembling, tears in her eyes. Before I could react, a powerful spell hit the ground between us, and suddenly, the night changed forever. The Dark Leader laughed as his minions snatched away the family's sacred grimoire, the source of all our summoning power. In that instant, I felt something inside me die along with my parents. They cursed me to be weak, and I could do nothing to stop it. As I grew up, I buried those memories under daily training sessions and endless nights of practicing, determined that one day I would reclaim what was stolen and prove them all wrong. I blinked, and the noise of the courtyard rushed back to me. Students rushing to classes, birds chirping overhead, professors murmuring. My visions swam as I realized I was still sitting on the curb outside the exam hall. I had failed again, and the sting of defeat was all I felt. My legs folded beneath me as tears of frustration slipped down my face. I whispered to myself, I'm just a weak summoner with no chance. I'll never be special. Just as my hope was completely extinguished, the world seemed to shake. The ground rumbled, and a mysterious voice echoed in my mind, cold and timeless. Summoner system. Activation sequence initialized. I staggered as the voice faded, heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity. Suddenly, the air around me shimmered. Golden sigils appeared in front of my eyes, hovering in midair, forming columns of text and bars. In the language of magic, a system interface unfolded before my eyes. Summoner class recognized. Current rank, F. Ability, Latent Devourer. Mission, absorb a summoned creature to ascend. The words glowed against the sky. My heart rate skyrocketed. Me? A mission? A power? An ability? I clenched my fist, and raw mana surged through me as tiny sparks of energy danced around my fingers. A rift of pale light opened nearby, and out of it stepped a small spectral wolf creature, its eyes reflecting my own confusion and wonder. A low growl rumbled as the wolf creature hovered in the summoned light. It stared at me, no fear, only a sad knowing. The system's mission rang clear in my mind. Devour the spectral wolf. My stomach twisted. Could I harm something so small, so innocent? I hesitated, palm quivering, but with each heartbeat, the urgency grew. Summoning courage I didn't know I had, I conjured a swirling orb of dark energy in my palm. The wolf lunged forward, ephemeral fangs bared, and suddenly I released the spell. A scream tore from my throat as the spectral beast was engulfed. Its form dissolved in my grip, and as it did, a rush of power flooded into my veins. Staggering back, I saw it disappear, but I felt utterly changed. The system announced with a triumphant ding, "Rank up, E." My senses sharpened. I was one step closer to power. I forced my legs to steady as I rose to my feet. Everything around me looked different now. The air crackled with energy, and even the sunlight seemed sharper. I breathed deeply and closed my eyes, focusing on what I had learned at the Academy's library, the summoning incantation my father once taught me as a child. Words I hardly remembered left my trembling lips. In an instant, the system chimed again, and winds gathered around me, twirling leaves into a vortex. From the curling shadows stepped a majestic spectral tiger, larger and more powerful than anything I had ever seen. It knelt before me, waiting for my command. My heart raced. I had actually summoned a creature that listened to me. My first official summon, now at my command. My trembling doubts were replaced by a thrill of power I hadn't known since childhood. The spectral tiger nudged my arm, as if sensing my next thought, to test its might. Not far off, I spotted trouble, a low-level ogre bullying a terrified villager. My blood roared. This was my chance. I pointed at the ogre, releasing the command I barely understood. "Hunt!" The spectral tiger leapt forward with ghostly grace, jaws glowing with ethereal fire. It pounced on the ogre in one swift motion. I stood frozen, and within seconds, the hulking creature was dismantled by my summoned ally. The villagers gaped in shock as they called for help. For the first time, I felt true confidence coursing through me. Word of the spectral tiger's deeds spread faster than I could run. By the next morning, I was receiving stares and murmurs wherever I went. A few excited students even whispered my name, though none dared approach. I smiled a bit, feeling a pride I'd never allowed myself before. As I walked to class, a scroll on the bulletin board caught my eye. Annual Freshman Summoner Trials. Sign up before the end of the day. My heart skipped. This was it, my chance to turn my life around. Without hesitation, I rushed to register. The city's hopeful young talent would soon face off in a competition that could change everything. The next day, the freshman trials began at the Grand Tower of Valor, its gates flanked by stone guardians. I stood among dozens of hopefuls, each one trembling with anticipation. Many were so much bigger and stronger looking than me. A few sneered, recognizing me as yesterday's hero. Others muttered about my past weakness. I took a steadying breath and focused on my new friend, the spectral tiger. Its ghostly eyes narrowed, ready for whatever came. A booming voice announced the start, and glowing doors to the first challenge slid open. Tower attendants tossed me a scroll. Floor 1. Defeat the Guardian Golem. Excitement and fear warred inside me as I stepped forward. This was where my real test began.